Good afternoon to everyone present here. Firstly, I would like to thank each and everyone for joining us today. You see, times are difficult across the world as countries are getting ready to break the chain of COVID-19 infection. With a new country entering lockdown state every alternate day, work and workplaces are getting affected on a scale never imagined before. Work from home was a perk only a few weeks ago. It has now become the new normal. Now, we will collectively face a few important questions for what is the new normal and how has the work and workplaces evolved? Is working remotely difficult? And if yes, how can we make it work? And what about productivity? How can we leverage the technology to give us a better outcome? So, as we begin our webinar, I would like to introduce our speakers for today. We have Vipul Mathur, VP PeopleStrong, who will be guiding us through the first phase of the webinar. The next phase will be taken up by Harsimran, who is currently leading the artificial intelligence efforts at PeopleStrong. He will be walking us through the fascinating features of Zippi. Over to you, Vipul.
Thanks, Bineet, and welcome again. Thank you all for taking out time for a session like this. And at PeopleStrong, we'll continue to hold sessions like these, sharing our knowledge and in fact, build a collective intelligence with leaders like you and showcase how we can support and help in these times. So the new normal is what everybody's talking about, and we don't know what the new normal will eventually be. But before we, in fact, define the new normal, the way we work, what we thought was, as this session, we wanted to make it more interactive and understand your perspectives as well. What, according to you, is the new normal? And let's start from answering few questions, if you guys are okay, and maybe this could break a little bit of ice in the audience as well. So in last 2 to 3 weeks, first week was more of adapting what's happened, and now we've just synced into the feeling of the way we are working. I just wanted to understand from you all leaders and your perspective that during this time, I'd love to hear from your perspective, and we can just reply on the chat button, which is here, and see how in your organization, has it impacted, from a productivity standpoint, or you still are figuring out in terms of whether it's impacted or not. So let's hear from you all in terms of, and if you can put in your answers on the chat button here.
I see mixed responses.
Okay. Harsimran, if you can just, in fact, pick up the responses because I'm unable to see. If you can just share what people are talking about in terms of...
I think 3 people have said we can't measure. 2 people are saying it hasn't increased, and for some it has increased.
Okay.
So it's a mixed response.
Awesome. I think it's a great start to talk about. The next challenging question, which is bothering every business leaders, is that during this time, what is the business priority? Should it be a BAU, focus on survival, or invest in time in creating competitive edge? And you can choose multiple of them. It's not necessary. So, just wanted to understand from your perspective and the way you are looking at the new normal. And you can just type your answers in the chat box. And this information is going to help everybody on the call.
I think, Vipul, a lot of them are saying survival.
Okay.
And some talking about creating competitive edge.
Okay. Awesome. I think it's a unifying message.
But I think survival is a key that we should look here.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. This is how the sentiments are across industries, organizations. And I think knowledge sharing like this will help each other to get out from the situation we all are in. Now, the third very interesting question is this going to last for some time and there's going to be something new which is going to come across. So what's the post COVID era? Will our businesses be same as before? Will we have more lean and agile teams? Will there be more demand of like gig workforce? People would be remotely located, or the focus would be on survival more than growth, sustenance, or would they be people would be revisiting their business model? So, what, according to you guys, would be post this time, and what the new code of work would eventually come out to be? I'd love to hear from your perspective.
2 and 5 is coming up.
Okay, lean and agile teams, revisit business
With
model.
3 and 4.
More demand for gig workforce, focus on survival more and growth. So,
2
Harsimran,
and 5 are major winners. So 2
4
and
and
5, I think most of the people are looking at 2 and 5.
2 and 5. Okay, lean and agile team and revisit business model. I think this is an opportunity time to look at and question certain ways the way we work, and people look at times like these where innovation comes. And great, I think this sets up a tone, and the reason why we also wanted to put these questions in front of us is that we also seek validation, and as leaders, if we are in alignment in terms of the direction where uh, where the organizations will go in the future, kind of paths gives us through. Now, last 3 weeks, a very interesting trend has happened, and in this session specifically, we will be more focusing on the how part of it. You as leaders know what needs to be done. The challenge lies always in execution, and we'll focus this session. And one of the takeaways, if we are able to deliver, from this session, is the how part. Is how do I drive this in my organization? How do I drive this in my teams? Right. So a lot of things have changed in the last couple of weeks, and we still grappling with it. We still adapting to it, but I think there is a sense of direction which has already stepped in. Um, a very interesting thing we picked up from Zomato, the way we were working from office and the way we are right now addressing and the way we are doing. From doing brainstorming in our meetings, having animated discussion, which is now transformed into something like this, and an opportunity, event like this is happening rather than in a hotel or a round table. And at PeopleStrong, this is how Mr. Walia was filing 2 patents through. This is the time when this photograph was clicked. He's still doing the same job, but I think he's now making coffee along with it. So things have changed, things have moved. But one thing which is bothering all of us is, should we wait and wait for things to happen, or this is the time to sharpen our competitive edge? I think this is an opportune time to introspect in terms of what our next strategy would be, what the next big leap would be. Uh, how to make it happen is the learnings we've got from leaders like you, where we've had an opportunity to interact, and those are the learnings which I like to share in couple of slides. And like I said, the most important part is how part of it. How do I drive that in my organization and in my team? And in case you have any questions, please put that in the chat box. Harsimran, you can relay those questions, and we can kind of address or answer those at any time.
Right.
Yeah. So if you'd ask me the synopsis of our interaction so far, with leaders, with associations, and talking to um, uh, business champions, 4 things which have emerged very clearly, unanimously across teams. The first is that the strategies are not going to be chiseled in cast iron. They're going to be dynamic. We are talking about quarters. We're talking about 6 months now, right? And aligning teams with those strategies would be very critical. And one of the success mantra would be, how do we ensure, because we would be doing a lot of experimentations in days to come, and ensuring that everybody is aligned uh, together with these dynamic strategies is going to be a critical mantra for success. Um, if we've been witnessing this for some time, from 5-year plans to 3-year plans to annual plans to quarterly plans, but today when we're talking about survival, when we are talking about the unknown territory, the strategy is going to be dynamic. That's going to happen. The plans would not be something which would be chiseled. They'll keep on changing. And the most and important point is that how do we build that agility in teams which will align themselves with the strategy, and then drive the entire accountability and execution, right? While it's easy said than done, we build the execution, we build the strategy, but unless it's aligned with a plan, and the plan with the person which actually builds the accountability, who's the person who's going to drive those things, right? And eventually this going to be a competitive advantage for you, would be the speed, the way you execute things. We won't have time to sit, deliberate, discuss, experiment. uh, it's going to be a war. So ensuring that the speed becomes your competitive edge is super critical. While there would sound jargonish to you right now, our intent would be, how can you do this within your team and organization is something which we'll demonstrate. Collaboration, everybody's speaking about, but collaborating seamlessly in agile squads is going to be the new code of work. um, Hierarchies, regimental regimes will get destroyed. You'll have squads, you'll have guerrilla uh, teams who would be designed across functions, built together with for a purpose, given them enough ammunition to conquer and execute. The agile squads would not have hierarchies, would not have functions, but they would have a purpose. That's what's the future of the new code going to come. And this is, we are hearing from the leaders like you, which is going to talk about the post-COVID era, how we will scale and how we will grow. And the most and the important piece is the entire fastening of the pace of execution. And this can only happen through the power of nudge. I think the managers and the leadership team will have to continuously work on building these dynamic strategies, while at an operational layer, they won't have enough time. Power of nudge is what's going to get utilized the maximum to get the work done. And this can only be possible if we build that culture where, from strategy to execution, people align themselves properly. There is a defined accountability within roles and teams, and they work in those squads or group with a unified purpose, and then gets executed through those nudges. All this collectively pushed together will shrink the entire execution time, and that's going to be the secret mantra for the future, not only for survival but for the next wave of growth. Now, while it looks very simple to say, it's very difficult to execute. It requires discipline, it requires vision, and most importantly, it requires the culture. How do you do that is the next step, where we will show you the way we've created Zippi as a platform which not only aligns teams with the dynamic strategies which we'll be creating, but driving that execution within teams and ensuring the outcomes are driven, is the walkthrough which we will now show it across to you. So I'll request Harsimran to show how, through technology, we can address and answer what we've spoken about.
Thank you, Vipul. I think before moving on, if anyone has any query, please feel free to ask, or we can do it at the end also. So what I'll do, I'll walk you through the whole Zippi offering. How, so Vipul spoke about alignment, he spoke about faster execution, he spoke about power of nudge, and the seamless collaboration. So I'll just tell you how all these things come together and help you execute your strategies faster and keep your people aligned. If you see, this is the dashboard where I get to see as a user, what is it that I need to focus on, what I need to do today as an employee. It talks about the tasks that are overdue, talks about the pending tasks that I need to complete today, the goals that I've created that are aligned to the business strategies that need my attention. I haven't worked on it, or I need to take action on them. Then the conversations that are happening, or the projects that I'm working on, what are people talking about, where I can help and enable faster execution. So essentially, there are 4 different tracks which talk to each other, work seamlessly together to get your execution done. The first track is your goals track, where essentially all the strategies that are created are drilled down mile from the company strategy. Started with your CEO to other CXOs and to directors, managers, till the last mile. All these get connected, and so seeing the visibility of my individual goals as a user, I can see, I can track them. Where am I? I can check in from here about my progress. I can see where it is red, where it is green, the things that I need to focus on. So it's a real-time view of what I need to work upon. Vipul mentioned the strategies are going to be dynamic. What if the strategy now is working where we are 1 month, 2 months down the line in lockdown, versus if we are 4 months down in the lockdown, the strategy might just completely change. How do you align everyone in the organization, maybe 1,000 or 10,000, 100 people organization? How do you drill down that strategy to the life mile? All of that is visible to the user in real-time basis. Now, after getting aligned to the business, how do I execute my daily work? So I go to my second track, which is my daily productivity, my operational productivity, where I can manage tasks, the tasks that I assign to people, people assign to me, and I can, so it is essentially my daily work. I can manage my own to-dos. I can manage the tasks that are people assigned. So daily work, my operational work gets managed here. This is how I stay productive on a daily basis. And the goal track essentially talks about aligning my daily operational work to the long-term strategy so that my business objectives get met. We know tasks till date as binary. Either it is done or it is not done. But what we all know that there's a lot of work that needs to happen before the task is actually done. And even after the task is done, a lot of feedback loop gets executed, where feedback gets given, changes get made, again the feedback gets given to the person, and then the final closure of the task is actually happening. How do you do all of that? Right now you're talking on some tool, you're creating tasks on another tool. What we have done is, let's say what I've done here is I'm having conversations on top of the task. So essentially maintaining the context of the task. What I'm doing is I'm asking, is it done? Is it not done? The people are sharing images about the progress of the task, and then we are having conversation, and then essentially this whole conversation helps me execute this task and take it to closure. And not to boast about it, but we are the only app in the world right now. I'm sorry. So I was saying we are the only app in the world which allows you to communicate and collaborate on top of your task. There's no app that allows you to have collaboration on task.
Yeah, so just to add what Harsimran is saying, so getting a task done or not done is not an agenda here. The entire feedback loops are very critical. How do we ensure, when we speak about speed and we speak about agility, the feedback is given during the work in execution, not the post execution. Harsimran, we have a question here. Can the task be tagged to specific goals?
Right. So we do understand. So that's in the development phase right now. I think within this month itself, we do understand, to execute your goals, you need to have your operational task aligned to your goals. So that's what we are giving you. You can create those tasks and align them to goals, so that when I click on any particular goal, I can see all the tasks that are needed to get that goal executed and completed. So the answer is yes.
Yeah.
Moving forward, so we've spoken about my long-term goals, my daily operations, but not just tasks. To execute those tasks, we do conversations. So the third track is where my work groups are. We've received one more question, so I'll pick up the question first. Uh, is asking Ankur is asking who can have visibility of this task and the discussion inside task. Uh, just hear me out. I'll talk about the third track, and your question will get answered.
Yeah.
So the third task is my work groups. We within my own team or cross-functional teams all come together to execute project.
Harsimran, I think we lost your audio here.
Hello, Harsimran, we have lost your audio. We're not able to hear you.
Okay. Sorry, guys. I think Harsimran might be facing an internet issue. So in the interim, let me answer the question which Ankur had asked. It's showing Harsimran is on mute. Just give me one. Vineet, can you just unmute Harsimran?
Hello,
Yes,
am I audible?
Yes, Harsimran, you.
Okay, just give me 1 second. Some network connectivity. I think I lost it.
Harsimran, do you need help? I'll.
Yeah, I think I'm back. My screen is visible, right? Sorry for the inconvenience.
Yes, go ahead, Harsimran, please.
Okay, yeah. So I was talking about work groups where I am managing all my work. My screen is frozen. It's not moving. I'll share it again.
So by the time Harsimran is sharing his screen, so what we saw was my entire strategic goals, which I need to execute, which is aligned to my dynamic strategy. The second piece which we saw was how do I build my operational excellence and drive my productivity, where we saw I can plan myself much better, I can assign tasks, and I also can build conversations on task. The third thing which Harsimran is going to demonstrate is how do we build those squads, and these squads are work groups designed with a purpose, right? And those purpose could be anything, whether it's a store opening in a retail operations, it's launching a new product, it's having an idea to an execution. So you build a group of people who are aligned for a particular purpose, and they get added into a work group. And not only these team members communicate and collaborate effectively amongst themselves, but they also create the plans of execution, the steps and the task within that work group.
Beneath, can you just make me the co-host? Zippi demo.
Yes. Harsimran, you're already the co-host.
No, Zippi. Make the Zippi demo the co-host.
Okay.
It's done.
Zippi demo's the co-host already. Yeah, it's done.
So I was talking about these work groups as project groups. I can see the view of all the tasks that are pending in this group. And to answer the question, these are the tasks that have been assigned within a work group. So anyone who's part of this project group can see these tasks. if the top task, if you look at that, Prachi is assigned to Siddharth. So I am not party to this task, but I can still see it. I can do conversations on top of it. So there are two ways that I can give or receive tasks. If I go to my task pane, which are my task pane, this only shows me the tasks that I am party to. Either I have assigned to someone, I have assigned to myself, or someone has assigned to me. But in a work group, all the tasks are visible to anyone and everyone who's part of that work group, so that they can see the status of the project and help in the faster execution, so that the work can get managed and executed collaboratively.
So this is a classic example of from conversation to activity or attacks.
Right. So if I talk about the track 4, which is my enablement layer and the power of nudge that Vipul spoke about, this is the AI chatbot Ginny, where it helps you, nudges you at the right time to get the work done. If you can see on my screen, every morning I get a schedule of what I need to do, the meetings that I have, maybe a motivating quote, and even tells me about the important mails that I have unread. And then in PeopleStrong, so I also I missed to mark my attendance yesterday, so it nudges me saying, you forgot to mark your attendance, you want to regularize, else your salary would get deducted. And then also tells me, reminds me of the meeting that's going to happen a 15-minute before, reminder to join the meeting, and multiple other nudges regarding my task, where it shows me a list of all the overdue tasks that I have and asks me to execute them or take them to completion. So multiple other things are possible, where one is nudging. It is reminding me of all the work that I need to do so that I can execute them faster. The second is around the accessing of data. So I can connect this system to any ERP, CRM, business system, finance system that you have, and access data from that system. Is this coming up? Yes. So these are all the things that Ginny allows me to do. We have integrated with Microsoft Teams. We are integrating with Zoom. We'll be integrated with G Suite and Zoho meetings as well, where at the click of a button, my Microsoft Teams meeting link gets generated. I can share it with everyone and start using it from here itself. So I don't need to go to another app. Then if I were to talk about COVID advisory, so I get access to all the information, and this is government authorized and vetted advisory that they have released. So I've put that across. I can do my HR related transactions. I can do general queries, my nearby places, nearby hospitals, nearby COVID testing places. I can see the performance. If I talk about performance, I can see my performance, my key results, my objectives, my goals, or I can even drill down to the last mile to see how my team is performing. Think of it when a CEO has the complete view throughout the organization, from his direct reporters till the receptionist. He's able to see how people are performing, where is the bottleneck, why the objectives are not getting met, where he can enable those people to execute their plans, which ultimately leads to business growth. So I can drill down to the last mile. For sales people, we have the sales toolkit, where any information they need is available to them on demand, and the latest updated information, which can be the case studies, which can be the collaterals, and even access their CRM. We as business leaders know the biggest problem with any salesperson is the challenge to update their CRM. So we don't have access to the updated data. They can do microtransactions from here. So Ginny as an enablement layer nudges me to execute faster, gives me access to all the data, all my systems at one place. I don't have to go to multiple systems, and allows me to do microtransactions from here itself, so that any information update can happen within the chat itself.
Very interesting thing, just to add on what.
Yes, Vipul.
Yeah, is that Genie not only acts as a personal assistant.
Genie not only acts as a personal assistant,
also tries to build habit formation. Which is very important for the organization's culture. So we did a very small experiment within a small group.
Vipul, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is Vipul. Sorry to interrupt. Your voice is echoing.
Harsimran, can you just put yourself on mute, please, for a second?
Harsimran, can you just
Yes,
put
I
yourself on, please, for a second?
That might be the problem.
Hello?
Hello?
It's better now.
Better now? Yeah. So what I was saying was that...
It's better now.
Better now? Yeah. So what I was saying was that
I think it's still echoing.
No, it's still echoing.
I think it's still echoing.
No, it's still echoing.
Be disconnected of your phone from where you're sharing screen. Be disconnected of your phone from where you're sharing screen.
Is it better now?
Is it better?
Yes, much better.
Yes, it's better now.
So what I was talking about, Genie as a tool is not just as a personal assistant for a team member, but also is building habits in people. So we did a very small experiment during this COVID time where Genie actually is nudging everybody to wash their hands every hour. And we've seen actually people, getting reminded and doing that small activity. So leveraging the power of nudge through an AI chatbot is something which we've seen, and building that habit forms a foundation of your organization culture. So all that together, it sums up at one place. Yeah, Harsimran, please carry on from there. So cool. I think we can go to the next session. So we just open for a Q&A then, and happy to take your questions, and if you can unmute yourself, and happy to address any questions, or if you want to like to type, more than happy to address there as well. So Dakar, anything from your side? Vineet, can you unmute all, please?
Yes, I'll unmute all.
Thanks. Yeah, I think we did hear about it in the last presentation. We will, I think, maybe once the situation normalizes, we will sit and discuss with you.
Sure, Sudhakar.
Yeah.
And just wanted to hear from your perspective, Sudhakar, how are you seeing this time and the future of work?
Tough times. I think one word or two words. I think at least in our lifetime we have not faced any such thing. Yes, we did face maybe 2 days lockdown or 3 days lockdown, more localized in some places, but this is absolutely unprecedented. I think that's where the new norm is what one is work from home. That itself is I think productivity. One is office productivity, then there is productivity in the field, productivity in the manufacturing units. That is completely affected. So now one can't do anything about it because there is a set of manpower which is required in the factories. There is a communication which is to be there in the sales and the front line. All those things are completely gone now, and the entire business models have to be relooked at with regard to distribution in FMCG, because we have always been dependent on there is a set of distributors. You supply to distributor and he manages the entire last mile.
Right.
Now he is shut. What do we do?
Right.
My retailers are open. My distributors are not open. So the entire supply chain is completely disrupted. So it's a problem which, frankly, we are trying to get curfew passes for different places, then persuading the distributors, you please open up at least, then we can route, then some financial incentive to the transporters. then the workers for loading, etc. Because, whatever is all said and done, we are still a lot manual operation in the factories.
Right.
Whether it is a loading, manufacturing, packing, it's still, yes, over a period of time, we have managed to do some automation, but not to the extent one is required to do because of the cost, because of the people cost. So it's a combination. I think it's an eye opener that such a lockdown can happen in India. And on 15th of March, if anybody had asked us, we would have said, no problem. This will come and pass, no problem. We were all very highly optimistic people.
Right.
But 18th and 19th March, the situation changed so radically that, frankly, none of us was prepared to sort of think that this will happen like this. One of our directors called from London. He says, you must start working from home. Then I said, he must be crazy. What is he saying, that we should work from home? On 16th morning, 16th is a Monday. But on 18th, we completely changed our thing in 2 days' time.
Yeah, awesome. So no, I think
it's a shock. It's a shock one. Then yes, the entire cost structure has gone haywire. Profitability less said the better. Revenues less said the better.
I think great. No, thank you very much for sharing your experience on this. I think would have helped a lot. We've got a question from the team, Harsimran, and it says that I work with a lot of freelancers and gig workforce. Can we invite them on Zippi, and how can we track productivity? Harsimran, you need to unmute yourself, please.
Okay, sorry. So I was saying, is my voice echoing?
Yes. No, it's okay.
Okay. So I was saying that we can definitely invite more and more team members. It can be your gig workers, it can be your employees. Create a group, create a work group where you're working with them, creating tasks for them. So you can definitely monitor the project progress with the task within the group that I showed you. And then you can see the progress and then the productivity basis, which we will show you how many tasks were completed within the time, how many were overdue, and then they got completed. So that's how you can measure the product.
Awesome. Great. Any other questions I'd love to take? Anybody would like to share their experience? They can unmute, or any questions if you have, you can either put it on the chat or unmute yourself and speak. We have a question from Uncle. Yes.
Vipul.
Yes.
Continuing to this question that was asked by Ruby about gig workers, I'm just curious. I'm going back to my question that I had written in the chat, that who all can have visibility. So I hope I'm audible.
Yes, Uncle.
Yes,
I can
Uncle.
hear you. So the answer would be, if you create an individual task you assign to one of your teammates, then you and that assignee can only have the visibility to that task. But if you create a task for an individual within a work group, then anyone who is part of that work group can have visibility and can do conversation on that task. So it's like a project structure. Think of it like a project. People working in a project have access to all the tasks, all the work that needs to get executed in that work group. But you may have certain tasks that you're giving it to your direct reportees or your colleague, saying, can you give me this document? Can you share this? Can you do this? Then only you and that person can see that task.
Okay. So unless they are connected in a work group, they can't see each other's tasks. That's what you're saying.
Correct. And the third type of tasks are your to-dos, where you can assign tasks to yourself, your to-dos, you can manage your list, and that's private to you.
But your strategic goals are visible to across your DRs.
Okay. Great.
Thanks, Uncle. Anybody else? Love to hear your questions or your experience you'd like to share. Okay. So this is the question, say, how do you see Zippi helping create new culture vis-a-vis we already habitual to WhatsApp and other popular modes of communication productivity tools? So very interesting perspective. So execution is the bottom line, right? How do you drive faster execution? It's not about getting people together at one place and having conversations, right? Those conversations has to be related to outcomes. So the core genesis of a product like Zippi is driving outcomes, and that to faster outcomes. So it's a combination of your strategy as well as a culture. So when we say this, driving and executing that is what this product does primarily. Thanks, Mayank, for asking this question. Anybody else would like to share?
I mean, I can share my experience, Vipul. Frankly,
Yes, Ankur,
you know, it's been just a few days that we've started working on Zippi, and frankly, this has helped a lot of us save time, because you know earlier the communication is happening at multiple channels.
Yeah.
For the same thing, people are connecting on different WhatsApp groups. There is email happening. Actually, a lot of noise gets created in the organization just for one particular activity, just to check a status on that. Now it's so seamless that once we have a group, we have stopped. I mean, we have categorically said to people that no WhatsApp sync up. When the communication can happen on Zippi, it's very, very focused. And sometimes you don't even have to ask. You can just go to that work group. You can see what's happening. So I think one thing that I have noticed is it reduces the amount of communication and to and fro, and having access together. I think that's been very helpful.
Great. I think that's a great feedback, Ankur. Thank you very much for sharing. Motivates us a lot. Yes, anybody else would like to? Okay, we have another question. Can Zippi help in defining per employee productivity from top line to bottom line improvement? Oh, absolutely. That's the intent over here. Everything, whatever happens on this platform is measurable. Right? And those are the insights which as an organization you get to see, whether it is at an activity layer or a task layer or an outcome layer, which is a goal layer. So every piece of data generated is actually quantifiable and aligned to a business outcome. Thanks for asking this question. Great, thanks.
Vipul, is there also a way to figure out who are the laggards in the team, who are the people who are not updating it and are mostly lagging on the task?
Those are those are the insights which gets built with the product, and those are the leadership insights which actually the dashboard and the analytics side of the interface showcases to the business leaders. So yes, you get to see your iceberg in much fuller depth.
So you're saying that's not on the app, that's on some other...
That's on the dashboard and the analytics.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. Anybody else would like to ask questions? Great. Beneath, I think we've...
Yes, Vipul. So, I would like to share a link with everyone.
Beneath, we are unable to hear you.
Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes.
I would like to share a link with everyone. And this is one of the initiatives which we have taken to provide Zippi for free to all who are in need. And you can check out the link, and you can fill some details and get access to Zippi for free. Can we check the slide? So this is our contribution to the society, and we will be providing the power of Zippi to all the people who are in need right now, and you can you can have focused conversations using Zippi in your own organization in the time of dire need. And we as members of PeopleStrong are always there to help you out in any time, 24/7.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you all for joining in and sharing your valuable feedbacks and time with us. And we look forward to organizing more of these sessions. Your feedback is critical. Do let us know areas of interest. This will help the marketing team to build content around that. And look forward for exchanging more notes with you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Vipul.
Thank you very much.
Vipul.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Vipul. Thank you, Harsimran. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.